Chapter 4, The Librarian in Love. Miss Paige Turner, the school librarian, was busily cataloging new materials and reshelving books. Already she had hung her favorite poster on the wall behind her circulation desk. It read, "There's a place for every book, and every book has its place." Miss Turner considered this her motto. She loved nothing better than arranging her books neatly and numerically on the library shelves. "Ah, the Dewey Decimal System," she gushed as she stood back to admire her work. "Humankind's single greatest achievement." Then she took to her other tasks, her sensible brown loafers making a satisfying shush-shush sound as she bustled around the library. An hour earlier, the place had been crawling with students looking for The Cat in the Hat, Ramona the Pest, and books about dinosaurs. But now the library was quiet as a museum again, just the way Miss Turner liked it. Then Mrs. Struggles walked in. "Paige," she said, "I'd like you to meet Mr. Jupiter." Annoyed at having her silence disturbed, Miss Turner frowned and looked up from her magazine rack she'd been arranging. She found herself looking into the most beautiful pair of brown eyes in the whole world. Instinctively, Miss Turner straightened her cardigan, the one with apples appliqued onto its pockets. She tucked back a strand of mouse-brown hair and pushed up her wire-rimmed glasses. Mr. Jupiter smiled a dazzling smile. "Good afternoon," he said. "Mr. Jupiter's our new fourth-grade teacher," explained Mrs. Struggles. Miss Turner managed a weak "hello." She felt like a scoop of vanilla ice cream on a hot summer's day, all sweet and drippy. Mr. Jupiter leaned closer. "I look forward to working with you," he said. His voice caressed Miss Turner's pale skin like a soft spring breeze. "Oh, me too," she breathed. Mr. Jupiter leaned even closer. He was so close the librarian could see the gold flecks in his eyes. "One more thing," he said. "Anything," sighed Miss Turner. "I would like to check out a copy of Aesop's Fables," he said. "Do I need to fill out a card?" "What?" Miss Turner blinked. She felt blinded by his beauty. No, take a copy. That's fine." Mrs. Struggles raised her eyebrows. Miss Turner was always such a stickler for the proper checkout procedures. What was going on here? "Thank you," said Mr. Jupiter. He touched the back of her hand. "And may I ask, when is it due?" His touch jolted her senses. She felt confused, dizzy, electrified. "Due?" she managed to croak. "Whenever." Mrs. Struggles shook her head in disbelief. Miss Turner detested overdue books. Why, any student who didn't return a book within 14 days was hunted down and fined. Mr. Jupiter smiled again. "That is very generous of you, Paige. May I call you Paige?" The sound of her name on his lips made her shiver. "Of course." "Mr. Jupiter," said Mrs. Struggles, "let me introduce you to our music teacher." She led him out the door. Miss Turner stood there for a moment, dazed. Then she collapsed into her swivel chair. It rolled across the floor and crashed into her shelving cart. She barely noticed. Her heart raced and a feeling of wild abandonment shot through her. Suddenly, she longed to kayak down the Congo River, parachute off the Empire State Building, read a trashy romance novel. With trembling hands, the librarian reached into her "so many books, so little time" book bag and pawed around until she found her compact. Snapping it open, she gazed at her reflection in the tiny mirror. Just as she suspected, nothing had changed. And yet, Miss Turner shook her head. How odd! On the outside, she looked exactly the same, but on the inside, she felt like a brand new woman. Moral: you can't judge a book by its cover.